Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years, and today I have my special guest. He's the author of the book Stopping a Dangerous Revolution, no other than Mr. Stuart Miller. Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Miller.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Yes. And can you please introduce yourself?
Yep. I go by Stuart Miller, my pen name, and I decided to write a book. I mean, I've always had the idea of writing a book, but never had the courage to really pursue it, and didn't really know what it would ever, really be about. And just life experience and everything that I've witnessed and gone through in life, and a lot of other inspirational people. um, it just I started writing and came up with some topics, and I decided, all right, well, I guess this is the time and it's going to happen, so let's go for it. So I decided to, you know kind of happened by accident. I didn't really expect it to really become anything or become an actual book, but that's what it seemed to you know become. So
Congratulations, then. Is this your debut book?
yeah, this is my first book. Yep. I have another work in progress, kind of similar to the first one. um, I'm hoping to get it finished and published by the end of this year, but we'll have to just see how that goes. But yep, I self-published my first book, fully independent, and yeah, got it
Con-
first published back in November 2022.
Congratulations, then.
Thank you.
So, stopping a dangerous revolution, what is all about?
Well, it's basically taking some of the most popular cultural and social challenges that society faces, and I discuss them. I break it down basically by using my own life experiences, everything that I've witnessed firsthand and that I've personally have experienced, throughout my life. And I'm talking about it. I tried school, went to college, and spent a long time in college for it to not really turn out to anything. But I took some really important courses such as psychology and philosophy, and world geography, American history, and applied ethics. I took some classes, and it really opened my mind in ways that I never imagined. It made me think about things in ways that I never even considered. And so I decided that I was going to apply all that. And basically, the book is explaining why people think and do, what they think and do, and many of the possible root causes behind it. So many people think of situations from only just one or two angles. I'm providing like 20 or 30 angles that, to consider, that people probably don't consider. And, you know, I'm just shedding light in a much more broader way on these cultural and social issues to get people to think twice and really just, you know, think through what they experience in their own day to day rather than just always reacting. So that's what it's pretty much about.
Well, I visit your blog, and one of the word that phrases that really interested me is saying that if we change our ways, we can improve the world. Can you expound that phrases?
Yeah, because we're always so quick to point the finger and blame somebody else for the problems in the world, but we don't really take a look at ourselves. Like every situation in life, it takes two to contribute. There's always two sides to every situation. And rather than just saying, "Oh, well, it's your fault because you did this or you didn't do this, it's you, you're the problem." Okay, but what did you contribute? Look at yourself. How can I improve myself to do better in the world? We can't just say everyone else has to, because at some point everybody else includes us. We are also, part of that. So, by changing our ways, by changing our behaviors and self reflection, looking at ourselves in the mirror and saying, okay, well, if a lot of people are saying this about me, maybe I need to reflect. Maybe this is, maybe that's true. Maybe I'm in denial. Maybe I just don't want to face that reality that, you know, that this is a problem with me. It's just getting people to do self-reflection and take personal accountability for their own actions, for their own thoughts, for their own ways, rather than just always trying to blame somebody else and, you know, not taking accountability. So that's basically what it means.
Very well said, Mr. Stewart. So, do you think that in society today, blaming others is a normal thing to do?
Well, the most important thing is, if everybody is saying it, if everybody says the same thing, at some point it gets to the point where it's like, okay, well, 50 people are saying this about myself. So maybe they're right. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're right. Maybe this is something that I really am doing, because we can't see ourselves in the moment. We don't see ourselves and how we're behaving and how we're talking. We're in the heat of the moment, so we can't see ourselves in of what we're doing, but other people are seeing us. Other people are observing our behaviors and watching what we're saying and doing. So an outside perspective is much more valuable, um, when in terms of how we're being. So a lot of it comes down to the way our upbringings are. The environment that people live in, the friends and the people that we associate ourselves. There's countless factors to take into account, many, many different sources of where we learn to blame others. We blame others because we see it in the media, we see it in TV shows, we see it in Hollywood, we hear about it in music. You know, we hear about it in just what's the word that they use now? It's like the mainstream media. It's almost like it's being taught to blame others. It's the other person's fault. The wrong messages are being taught by social media and society. The wrong messages are being taught because it's always easier to say you did it, and it's much harder for people to say I'm wrong. I'm not. My thinking is wrong. um, you're right. I need to change my thoughts. I need to change my perspective. I don't have all the answers. People need to acknowledge they don't have all the answers. They don't know everything. We can all benefit and learn from each other, but people are just too closed minded and too focused on their own ideologies and their own thinking, their own thought process, that they don't want to consider knowledge that goes outside of their comfort zone or that conflicts with what they already know. And it's a bigger problem than what people realize.
So, what are the biggest social issues that your book acknowledge?
Well, some of the biggest issues that my book acknowledges is lying, in general in life, favoritism in the in the academics and in family life, favoritism, um, being a snake, wearing a mask, cheating, being unfaithful, um, judging others, and many other topics, including mistreating other people, which includes one of the hottest topics that exists today, and that's bullying. So. I'm addressing many different, cultural and social issues that are seen, every day. Every day these problems are happening. There's favoritism happening between parents and their kids, or between teachers and their students. There's, people being unfaithful all the time, every day. People are not, people wear a mask every single day, and they don't want to show who they really are because they're afraid of being judged. They're afraid of people labeling them. And there's so much that, that we can improve on in. And the direction that we're going in right now with society, um, it's not a, it's going to be a revolution, because negative is going to be the new normal, and that's not the direction that, we want society to go in. So
The way you discuss your book sounds interesting. So, who inspired you in writing Stopping a Dangerous Revolution?
I had many inspirations to that, actually. Many of my inspirations came from my own life experience. I've gone through a lot in a short time. I feel like in the 37 years that I've been alive, I've you know my mentality is just different. And I was also inspired by my family members and my friends, the people that I've interacted with, in my day to day, because I would observe and, witness things. And and even, a lot of stuff that's happened to me. I was also inspired by musical artists that are fully independent, like Struggle Jennings, Adam Calhoun, Tom McDonald, um, and I was also inspired by Ryan Upchurch. These independent artists, and even like NF. I listen to a lot of their music, and a lot of these independent artists get, so much hate because they speak truth, and people just don't want to hear it because it's not what the mainstream wants to hear. But I listened to their messages, and it really inspired me to say, hey, if they're putting music out and they're talking about real life stuff. They're not just talking about, sex, women, cars, mansions, partying. They're not talking about all this stuff. They're talking about like real personal stuff. Their own life story, and their own struggles, and what they've gone through, and what they've experienced, and the lessons that they've learned through life, through what they've endured. It inspired me. These musical artists are big names, in the music industry. And so between the music artists that, I listen to, that are my favorite, artists, I have like almost all their music on my playlist. Between the music artists, between the people in my life, family and friends, and then, you know, my own life experience, is just like, okay, you know, I can do this. So I did. I decided to go for it. Take the leap.
Yes, it did. So, Stopping a Dangerous Revolution, how do you structure it?
Okay. So I wanted to structure it in a conversational format. So I didn't want to write it like I'm telling you a story. It's not a story, really. I wrote it like as if you and I were sitting down face to face and having a heart to heart conversation. We were actually just talking, not arguing, not fighting or nothing, just talking, like having a civilized conversation. I wrote it so that way when people read this book, or this memoir, I wrote it because I want people to feel like they're actually talking to me, like they're actually sitting with me, and we're having just, a casual civilized conversation, and we're just opening up, you know. And that's how I want to write. I just want to make it real kind of like personal. I even share some of my own life experiences in some of the chapters that I wrote about. But everything that I've written in this book, I have personally witnessed firsthand, or it's actually happened in my life, and it happened to me. So it's and some people say, oh well, it's fallacies. This is, it's hogwash. It's not. This is not what it really is. It's like, no, no, this is not. It's not fallacies. If you go on the internet right now and you do a search for, for a lot of this stuff, you'll find, you know, valid information about everything that I've written. So, it's stuff that I have actually witnessed and experienced throughout my life.
So, how many days or month you wrote this book?
I wrote this book in about 2 months.
Wow,
2
that's
months,
so
and it's just over 125,000 words.
that'd be awesome. So, what do you think the best highlight of this book?
I guess the best highlight of the book would be would be like the conclusion. The conclusion of the book, I think, would probably highlight it because it's a really good general overview of just everything that was talked about in the book. It's a really good just, you know, umbrella of what the whole book, was about. It's like the summary, there's some really there is some stuff in there that was like when I go through it and I reread it, it's like, holy geez, I can't believe I actually came up with this content, or I can't believe I actually wrote this, or I that's in this book. So sometimes it even amazes me the stuff that I put in there. But I mean, there are some chapters in there that I'm extremely proud of. But I'd say the conclusion of the book is probably, my favorite of it.
Can you give us a glimpse of one of the popular topics?
Oh, like just one of the popular topics, chapters
Yes,
that I've talked about.
yes.
Okay. So, okay, yeah, I mean, the 2 chapters that I'm really proud of that I think are probably the better ones would be the chapter 3 on being unfaithful, which is broken up into 2 parts, but the second part kind of incorporates a little bit of the first part in it, which is about cheating and taking a spouse for granted. And the other chapter that I'm really proud of is about, well, all right, so there's 3. Being unfaithful is chapter 3. Chapter 6, bullying, with and without harassment, and probably chapter 7 about being judgmental, because chapter 7 is like the biggest. It's the biggest chapter of all of them. It's like 40 some pages long. So, um, I would say those 3 are probably my top 3. It's hard to definitively pick because 'cause they're all my favorite. But if I had to pick, it'd be those 3 probably.
So let's talk about chapter 7. Why is that long?
Well, because I'm breaking down, like, um, it's about judging people, okay? It's about and I've taken all the different ways that people judge others, and I'm literally breaking down each of those items and explaining it in more detail, like explaining why people do it, why people are, I'm explaining the why why people should. I'm trying to think of the best way of explaining. The words are just not really coming here, so I'll just throw out an example. Music. I talk about why people are judged for their music. Like, people like, gospel or metal or techno, and there's people that are like, "Oh my god, you listen to that stuff? That stuff is crap." That's horrible music. I hate it. It's like, okay, I explain why people, what makes people like what they like. There's a lot of different reasons why people choose the music interests that they enjoy. Just because you don't like it does not mean that it's bad music. It doesn't that's your opinion. It's not a fact. It's your opinion. And you're entitled to your opinion, but you don't have to make people feel bad just because you don't like what they like or you're not interested in the same things that they're interested in. Uh, and I take a lot of different things, the way people dress, wearing dreads, or having grills on their teeth. The way people just the way people go, live their life, in a lot of different ways. The way people talk, with accents, people are judged for so many different things, and I couldn't, put everything in, but I just came up with all the things that I could think of that I've, again, that I've witnessed and that I've experienced myself, and I'm explaining for every item listed. I'm explaining, the why it is the way it is, like why people have accents. People are judged because they're from another country. Well, when you're from another country, of course you're going to have an accent. And it may be hard to understand you. That's not that person's fault. That's just what makes them who they are. There's nothing wrong with that. Just because you don't want to speak to them, or you don't like the difficulty of not being able to understand everything they're saying, that's 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 on you. That's not on them. That's on you. If you just try to communicate with them and just, make that effort instead of just, judging them and attacking them, it would be so much better. So it's a lot. There's a lot of things that I list, and I break it all down and explain why the person should not be judged, why people shouldn't be judged for those things, and people why people wear dreads, why people might wear grills, why people have accents, why people like the music that they listen to. So that's basically why it's the longest chapter. So.
Very well said, Mr. Stewart. But before we go on, I just want to shout out
Mhm.
for these people listening in Uganda. Thank you so much. 130 on Apple Podcasts, on Apple Chart, United Republic of Tanzania, number 84. Thank you so much. Trinidad and Tobago, number 70. And Pakistan, of course, I'm number 20 on Apple Podcasts, on Apple Chart. Lebanon at 128. Kazakhstan at number 63. Cambodia at number 178. Ghana at 175. Estonia at 190. Canada at number 14. Thank you so much for supporting this podcast. And I always saying that this podcast is created to empower writers all over the world, like Mr. Stewart, right, Mr. Stewart?
Absolutely, definitely. Every writer deserves, a fair chance at, having their book read and reviewed and, just given a chance. So.
Definitely. So, what age do you think that? Oh, I will be a writer soon.
That's awesome. Congratulations. That's phenomenal. I think everybody should be a writer because everybody has a unique story to tell that I think other people can benefit from and can relate and connect to people. I think everybody should write. Everybody should try writing, and just even if you're not perfect at it, it doesn't matter. Just write. Just express yourself. So I definitely encourage everyone to at least try to write. I mean, I've seen writers that are, in single digits. I mean, I've seen people who are like 6 and 7 years old writing books. There's no age where you have to be a writer. If you have something that you want to share, a story to tell, something to express to the world through through writing, regardless of your age, write. I don't believe that you can be too early, to be a writer. Even if you have to have somebody helping you, to formulate your thoughts and ideas and what you want to say, then that's totally fine. Have someone helping you with it. But if you have a story to tell, don't be afraid to tell it. Don't care what other people think. Don't care what other people, you know, just don't care about other people's, opinions and such. As they say, opinions are like, well, opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one. And every so yeah,
Yeah, very well said,
just be
Mr.
you.
Stewart.
Just be
Yeah,
you.
just be you. When you're writing, just be you and think if you have the passion in writing, go for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they say the worst thing that you can do is, not do something. There's a saying that I like to share with people, and that is, if you're gonna regret anything in life, regret the things that you didn't do, not the things that you did do.
That's awesome. So, what else you can say about stopping a dangerous revolution?
I would say that this book is really not it on the platforms that I've self-published my book on. I've had to indicate that it's for 18 and older, and the reasoning for that is because there's a lot of adult content in the book where it talks about um, you know drugs and sexual related content. It's not like pornographic or anything like that, but it's just talking about adult related matters, you know, uh, that people experience. Um, Teens would probably relate to it, and really anybody of any age, um, but, you know, 18 and older is what it's recommended for age-wise, so.
Okay, so if you given a chance to modify the book after 10 years, which part of the book you want to modify?
Well, it's a hard question to ask. I guess I would probably modify the chapter on freedom of expression. I would probably modify that chapter because I feel like I I didn't say everything that I wanted to say, and there's things that I would probably change a little bit, but also add to it. But I was just more focused on, just saying the bulk of what I was thinking, you know, when I was writing it, and I just want to get my message out there. So, yeah, that's the chapter I'd probably modify out of all of them. Just yeah, probably just that one.
Okay, so what do you think? What genre align stopping a dangerous revolution?
Oh yeah, so the it falls under self-help memoir. And the reason for that, and it's actually nonfiction self-help memoir. That's what it would really fall under. Well, I mean, it's a memoir because it's based on my life, based on my life journey and um, what I witnessed and experienced. So, and it's a self-help because it's about self-reflection. Getting people to just look at themselves and analyzing their own mentality and behaviors and thoughts. And it's nonfiction because, well, it's it's not fantasy or anything. It's real life. So, nonfiction self-help memoir is what the genre is what it falls under genre wise.
So where do people buy your book?
Yep. So people can actually buy the book. Yeah, Google Play Books, Google Books, Apple Books, on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Goodreads, and through Lulu. Yep.
Yes, let's support Mr. Stuart Miller for his debut book. And as I always saying, if you support them, they will give their best. So you writing another book right now?
I am. Yes, I'm currently in the process of writing a second book here. It's it's again it's similar to the first one, but it's different. It's a philosophy book on quotes and sayings and um, you know, and these are quotes and sayings that I've come up with that are of my own. Some of them are kind of like a spin-off of existing stuff that's out there, but I've put into my own words and so forth. And what I'm basically doing is I am again uh, not well, I'm breaking them down, but I'm explaining how these quotes and phrases can, how they apply to everyday life, because there's a lot of people out there that are like, I don't understand what this phrase means, or I don't understand what this quote means. Like, there's a lot of people that don't always understand the full meaning of a saying or a phrase or a quote, and they don't really always understand, like, well, how does that apply to me, or how does that, there's like a disconnect there a little bit. So I'm explaining, just sharing how these different phrases and quotes and sayings can be applied to day to day life. So it's a philosophy book. So.
That'd be awesome. So if you publish it, can you come again and talk about it?
Yeah, but this one's gonna be different because I'm gonna be putting more of my own life experiences and how it actually, like, how it relates to me in it. Because one of the things that I've always believed in is lead by example. Be the change that you want to see in the world. Don't talk about change. Be that change. It's so easy to talk the talk and say things. It's much more difficult to put action behind those words and to actually do it. So I'm a firm believer in leading by example, setting the example that you want to see in the world. So I'm gonna be opening up about my own life and in ways that I didn't in the first book, and I'm going to apply pretty much most, if not everything, in the second book, and explain it and share my own life for each thing, because I just people need to know that I don't just write this because it's not just for other people. It's also for myself too. I it applies to me. I'm not excluded. Just because I'm writing it doesn't exclude me from it. It applies to me as well, and I still live my life. We're all a work in progress, so there's always room for improvement, whether by a little or a lot. There's always room for improvement. There's not one person in this world who's perfect in every way, shape, and form. It just doesn't exist. So that's what the second one's going to be about.
Yes, very well said, Mr. Stewart. So, my listeners here at Book 101 Review, I'm inviting you to listen to my other podcast, Food 101. It's on my third season with Chef Alessandro. He's an Italian executive chef in one of the five-star hotel in downtown Toronto. And Food 101 is on the top 12 best food podcasts on the planet. So please do check out Food 101. So, Mr. Stewart, can you please invite our listeners and readers to buy your book?
Yeah, I definitely encourage everyone to just check out the book. It's something that it's something that has you know for everybody. It's a book that's going to definitely make you think. It's got a lot of thought provoking content, a lot of stuff that you're you're probably never going to see in any other book out there. It's not like anything that you've ever read before, and I definitely encourage everyone to check it out, and just spread the word about it. Follow me on Twitter. I'm very heavily on Twitter. I do have a Instagram and TikTok, but I kind of don't use those anymore. Um, but yeah, the link to my book's website is on my Twitter page, and my Twitter handle, for people who want to check it out, is author underscore s underscore Miller. So consider just checking out my Twitter page. The link for my website's at the top of it, and and then all the links for where you can buy it from are on the book's website, of course. There's a form on the website where you can just reach out for questions or, just to, interact with me there. So, yeah, I just want to make myself accessible, as best as I could, for, you know, anyone that would be interested in the book itself. So,
Yes, I usually read books about self help. So the way you talk about your book, it's really empower people to be a leader, to be a good example, to change the world that we are living right now.
yeah, absolutely. It's designed to, to empower people, Um, I'm trying to give people strength, courage, encouragement. I'm trying to. I just want to be able to, make a positive impact on the world. I don't want to be. I don't want to be. I don't need to be rich, famous. High profile celebrity or anything. I don't need to be, you know, the glitz and glamour and all that. I'm not about all that. That's not why I wrote this. I wrote this just because I just want to be able to, help improve the world, whether by a little bit or a lot. That's the reason I wrote it. I want to help give people strength and encouragement and just be able to, help people to improve their own lives and help improve, their day to day and, just help make society a better place for our generation and going forward. That's just really why I wrote it. So,
Yes, very well said. So, do you think in the future you can write a novel?
oh, ever oh, are you asking if like if everyone can write a novel or if I'm gonna
No.
write a novel?
Yes, if you can write a novel in the future.
I don't know if I'm really good for writing a novel, like, like a story, I don't know. I've thought about it, I've contemplated that thought, but I'm I'm more of an I have more of an academic mind, um, rather than rather than a fiction storytelling mind. I mean, I'm sure I could probably do it if I really tried, but that might be maybe a work in progress number three at some point in the future. So I'll keep that in mind though. I'll definitely consider it for sure.
So, in one word, how you describe stopping a dangerous revolution?
In one word, how would I describe it?
Yes.
Um, I would describe it as, well, all right, there's 2 words. I'm trying to, all right. Well, I'll just say the 2 words here because I'm not sure what word really would be the best. It's one of a kind. And yeah, one of a kind, unique. Um, I guess that's really the best word I can really use to describe it just because of the content within it. It's, yeah, definitely, yeah, definitely one of a kind for sure.
Yes. People listening to this podcast, let's support Mr. Stewart for the debut book. Stopping a Dangerous Revolution is a unique and one of a kind.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me on. I really appreciate it. It's been awesome, and yeah, best of luck, and hope hope everyone has a really great and awesome day.
Moticon people, see you soon.
Thank you so
Thank
much.